He is the CEO of the Innovation Workgroup, working with leading Indian and multinational corporations to equip them to become world-class innovators. Implementing innovation process using world-class innovation tools and methods to attain world-class innovation results. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome on stage Mr. David Wittenberg. Please get your hands together as David joins us on stage.
क्या ऑन है? अभी ऑन है. अच्छा. Okay, wow. The hardy, the few, the strong who have sat through an entire day. I congratulate you. You have strong bottoms. You've been able to sit in your chairs for the whole day without, I don't know, I fell asleep a little bit. Did you? Where is my presentation? क्या तैयार है? Okay. So, I sat through this afternoon's presentations, which I enjoyed, and I realized that I think Ed Nair has given all of us the same pep talk, the same preparation, so that all the speakers are telling you the same thing, and I apologize in advance. I'm going to tell you some of the same things that you have been hearing. I am going to do my very best to give you some new information, some new perspectives. I'm going to do my very best to make it entertaining because I don't believe in boring people. Do I have your permission to introduce a little fun? Really? Okay, boy, you're really sleepy by now. I ask about fun and you just sit there. Okay, well, I believe in having fun. So let's do our best to have a little fun. And although my topic is innovation, I gave a good talk on innovation last year, and I thought it would meet Ed's challenge tonight, but I don't think it would be fair to give the same talk. So I created a new talk for you, and hopefully we'll do some interaction. All right, so to get started, let's see if this works. It works, great. This is what we're going to learn today. Please take a moment and read it. Okay, you got it? Anybody need more time? Anything not clear you want to ask me about? I think volume is just a bit too high. I'm getting some feedback. Okay, so you understand, right? Okay, 3 points? Okay. Who can tell me the 3 points? I mean it, somebody. Raise your hand, say, yeah, I got it. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, this time you're paying attention, huh? Okay, great. Okay, who knows the 3 points? Madam, give me at least one.
Okay. If your managerial control decreases, become a leader.
If your scope of managerial control decreases, become a leader. She got the third one. Somebody else, help me out. It applies to her, brilliant. And then Ed was telling the truth, because that's the challenge he faced. Okay, someone else, who learned something from the slide? Madam, oh, we have the females, the very few females are being good here. Tell me, madam, what does it say?
Reduce the size of your team, but add value.
Yeah, if the size of your team shrinks, of your IT department, add value. And the third one?
Embrace change.
Welcome and embrace change. Okay, see, I don't know if you guys how did you get through college? The whole thing about college is memorizing the professor's notes, right? I hate that kind of teaching. I hate it. But I had to do just a little bit. See, now, who needs any explanation of any of those, or you really get them? Okay, all right, everyone stand up. Come on. We need some energy in the room. Everyone please stand up. Okay, sometimes we hold elections in my presentations, but we have this thing called Australian voting law. Does anybody know the law of voting in Australia? It's compulsory. Everyone has to vote, okay? So only 2 votes are here. One is called, I completely understand all 3 points, and the other one is called, I don't completely understand all 3 points. I do understand completely all 3, or I do not completely understand all 3. And this time, the method of voting is not going to be holding up your hand. Don't do that. Don't hold up your hand. The method of voting is called sit down when I call that candidate. You know how to vote? How do you do it? Okay, boy, somebody's paying attention. Okay, he's going to, okay. Now, and if you don't vote, since it's a law, I'm going to fine you 500 rupees and I will collect. So you either vote or you pay me 500. You choose, okay? So the first vote, okay? There are the three. Stand all three, okay? Where's the rest? Okay, he didn't vote. 500 rupees, sir. You're fined for not voting. You could vote, I do fully understand or I do not fully understand.
I don't fully understand.
No, but you didn't vote.
Oh, sorry.
I want 500 rupees, please. Pay up. You were warned, it's a fine, now you have to pay. Okay, thank you. All right, now do I have your attention? Now we have some energy in the room. All right, so my apologies to the vast majority of you who said you already understand it. Because if 100% had said, we fully understand all 3 points, I'd say, thank you very much, it's been nice to be with you, I'm gone. But for the few who said they don't fully understand, we will spend some time, and I'll bring an interesting perspective to this that you might not have considered. Okay, this is part one. Honey, I shrunk the IT department. I was talking with one gentleman over lunch. He says, yeah, we used to have 140, now we have 14. This lady is saying it's applying to me. The scope is shrinking, but the issue is value. So what happens in a day when things are changing? What happened to network administration or to app development? You're outsourcing it now. You're giving it to some other firm rather than building a big, huge internal IT team. Even tech support is outsourced. Sometimes your asset management, your fleet, HP will help you manage your fleet. So if these things are no longer under your control, what in the world is left for you as the head honcho, big technology CIO? What's left for you to do? Now, to study that, I thought we'd look at a case from history, because I'm good at drawing analogies. This applied here, so we can apply it there. And can you see the country I've chosen? What's that country? No, say again? Prussia. Yes, Prussia. Not Russia, Prussia. Anybody know the name of that joker with the pointy hat? You know who he was? You don't know that joker? He started a world war. That's why I call him a joker. His name was Kaiser Wilhelm. He had a weak arm, and I think he had an inferiority complex for it. So at the end of 19th century Europe, when all the kings and all the queens were related to each other, they were like all grandchildren of the Empress Queen Victoria. And they got jealous of each other, and this joker decides, I don't like that. I don't like those guys in France. I don't like those guys in England. I'm going to fight them. And he started a war. Can you imagine? Anyway, it was more complicated than that. But he actually was able to do that. He was able to muster Germany because of something that happened in 1871. The blue area that you see is Prussia. Another guy, he was not a joker. He was actually a great diplomat by the name of Bismarck. Von Bismarck said, let's get together all these little yellow and white things and the red one. Let's put them all together in one country. Good idea, right? Now, anybody tell me the name of that country? Germany! Somebody knows your history. All right. So he became the Kaiser of all of Germany, the king of all Germany. Wilhelm became the Kaiser of Germany. And he went from only running that blue area there to running this massive country with the largest population in Europe, apart from Russia. So that was what was happening in IT 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. You were adding on and increasing and taking all these responsibilities in-house. Okay, I hope I'm not too far off, because remember, I'm not a technologist, I'm an innovator. But that's what I recall. So, all right, so the thing got really big, and then what happened? Well, this joker started his war, and Germany lost. So all the other countries said to Germany, no, we're going to take away some of your land. So instead of a nice big mass, they took off, they just carved out a few chunks and says, no, that's not yours anymore. We're putting that somewhere else. They sort of outsourced part of Germany to Poland. Well, not really. And they outsourced part of it to France. in a funny way, you might say that's the analogy, all right? Well, how do you think the Germans felt about that? Anybody? They were really happy to lose part of their country, right? No. They got really angry. Not only that, they were made to pay really heavy reparations, lots of money they had to give to the other countries, and it drove their country pretty much broke. They had hyperinflation, and their leader, their chancellor there was a guy called von Hindenburg. We call that Weimar Germany, the Weimar Republic. And that's when they had 1 billion mark notes. 1 trillion, I think billion was the highest. It's just unbelievable. The story goes that one person got so much cash on payday because he had to be paid billions of marks to do his salary, and he rolled it in a wheelbarrow in front of the bakers, and he left it outside to go in and get some bread. And when he came back, the wheelbarrow was gone, but the pile of money was still there. The money was that worthless. So it wasn't a good experience for Germany to lose control over almost so much land. So they got really angry about it, and they decided to do something else a few years later. You've seen that guy before. And he says, no. Germany, the land should really, more than we lost, we want more. And he went and took it. He invaded all those other countries. So now instead of Germany being this, contoured shape, now it's like all of Central and Eastern Europe. I mean, they took over that whole thing. And it lasted for about 5 years. But because he was evil and because whatever reason, he lost that war. And then what happened to Germany? Does anybody know? Take a look. Does that look anything like what you just saw? It's a tiny little semicircle, moon-shaped, right? This is your IT department today. You've been through the stages of having a lot of people under your control, many of you. And then pretty soon it became a corporate decision. Maybe you helped to make that decision, maybe you didn't. And it says, no, we can get more bang for our buck. We can get more return on our rupee by outsourcing this to our friends at HP or some other firm who can dedicate it to doing that one skill. We need to focus on our business, whether it's manufacturing or services or nonprofit sector. We don't need to be investing in IT as a function. That's not our specialty. Then it becomes outsourced. So that was the case from about 1949 to about 1991 or so, okay? That was Germany, just this little bit. There was Eastern Germany, but that was under the Soviets. Now, how did they cope with having such a small country? Think about it. How did they do? They were devastated. They'd lost the war. They had very poor economy in 1949. It was cheap. It was under foreign occupation. Sound familiar? How do you think they did? Well, say again? Wow, yeah, technological innovation. Anybody else? How did the Germans do after they lost all that? They rebuilt. They rebuilt. And as Mom said, they became technological innovators. They became excellent in engineering. If you think of Germany, what do you think of? What? Yeah, would you like to have maybe a Mercedes? No, nobody here wants a Mercedes, do you? Even a Volkswagen? Yeah. Okay. So you think a production line or Siemens. Somebody, I think we've had some people here who've worked at Siemens or Bosch. You want Bosch spark plugs in your car? Okay. They became experts in certain things, and then they got back part of their country that had been under the Soviets after the wall came down. And you see that lady on the right? What's her name? Angela Merkel. Yes, Angela Merkel. She's the Prime Minister of India. Somebody has just in the newspaper called her the new Queen of Europe. See, all the things that her predecessors, Kaiser Wilhelm and von Brandenburg and Adolf Hitler could never achieve, and even Konrad Adenauer in the little country, they could never, she achieved it. She became the queen of Europe in today's. That's the one that everybody wants to be like. That's the one that everybody's following. She holds the fate of countries like Greece and Portugal in her hand because they've got the money. And isn't that really what it's about in business? You know, ultimately having the money? Yeah, there's more to that, but that's the scorecard. That's the measuring stick. So by being excellent in what they did, and no longer trying to defeat everybody with a war and conquering and defeating others, they achieved what all the violent and bellicose and warlike predecessors of the prior 100 years could never do. They became #1 in Europe, unquestionably, and they have one of the strongest economies in the entire world. So what's the lesson for us as IT leaders, as CTOs, as CIOs? What can we learn from the history of this empire called Germany that failed when it tried to take by force, but succeeded when it decided to build by intelligence instead? Let me give you now an analogy a little bit closer to home. I've written 4 books on the subject of accounts payable technology. Does any of you have an accounts payable department in your company? Kindly raise your hand if you have. Anybody have an accounts payable department? Okay, why are you lying to me? Why, sir, do you tell me you have an accounts payable department in your company? I don't believe you. I think it's a lie. I think you're not telling the truth. You see, since I shifted to India, this is a joke, by the way. It's okay to laugh after it's done, too. Okay, basically, I was amazed to find out that unlike my old country, where everybody pays early and gets a discount, here, it takes a long time to collect. Anybody a vendor here? You notice that it takes, so I figured out, actually, they don't have accounts payable departments in India. They have accounts delayable departments. Okay, good. I got a little bit of a laugh. So I'm teasing only, yeah. You know, the job is not to pay the bills. The job is to hang on to the money as long as you can. All right, so they are facing the same thing. They're not a core competency of any organization. I mean, we're Hewlett-Packard. We have the best accounts payable department in the world. It's not like that. We're Hewlett-Packard. We have amazing new multifunction printers. And by the way, we also pay our bills. So nobody is looking to build their accounts payable capability, just like most of your employers are not really looking to be well known for a big, great IT department. So the work has been going into shared service centers, and it's being outsourced, some of it to this country of India. We have KPOs, knowledge processing organizations, and business process outsourcing and things like that. So that is the first trend. The number of people employed is going down. But when I interviewed one American firm for one of the books, they said, we're doing great. We're doing just fine. Our head count is down by 60 or 70%. But guess what the second arrow says is? The people that we have working here today, how do they compare to the people they used to have? Ask after that, and this goes back to last year's talk, in case you remember, is that third arrow. That third arrow. That's the all-important arrow. You shrunk your IT team. Honey, I shrunk the IT department. How can you replace the shrunken manpower with increased value addition? That's the challenge for you. I don't think I'm telling you anything new, but I really wanted to explain that in terms of the first point. Okay, shall I stop for a second? Any questions, doubts? Want to throw some rotten tomatoes at me, some eggs? I know, I'm just probably, I don't know. Did you learn anything? Any questions? I'll stop for a second if you had any questions about this first part. Okay, good. We can keep moving. Great. Now it's time for part 2. How many of you have read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? Only about 15, 20? Come on, how many of you have read the book? Okay, it's an old book, 1998. I mean, that's not that old, 15 years. But it was a bestseller worldwide. And the theme of it, if you could read these tiny, tiny letters, I'll read them to you. It says, an amazing way to deal with change in your work and in your life, by Dr. Spencer Johnson. So this was a book that was written about managing change. And as every speaker I've heard has been telling you, change is a reality in the IT world today. I mean, you know, we talk about asset management. Why did it go away? Because now it's BYOD. And that's a new set of challenges. Security, new set of challenges. Are you behind the firewall? Not anymore. You're in the cloud. Again, owning software, don't bother. Rent it in the cloud. All these things are changing and changing and changing. Now, I mean, you know, building an intranet used to be something interesting in a corporation. Why do you even bother now? Now you have Facebook. Intranet is already there. So if everything is changing, how in the world do we cope? And so I'll just give you a summary of the major teachings of the book of Who Moved My Cheese. For those who have read it, it'll be a refresher course. For those of you who have not read it, I hope you'll find something of interest. Okay, there you go. It's it's 7 major things. In the book, they're called the handwriting on the wall. This is the messages we need to pay attention to. Kindly take a minute and read them now. And if you're, and the people in the back sitting under the great picture talking to each other right now, would you give me your attention for a second, please? Yeah, you two, you're talking to each other? Yeah, you two, you're talking to each other. Could I have your attention for a minute, please? Just confirm for me that you can make out what's on the screen. If not, I'll read it to you. Legible or not? Readable or not? Yes, you. Tell me. Can read, cannot read. Can make out the words, cannot. Please tell me. I can't hear you. Can read or can't read? What's he saying? Can you read them or not? No. No, cannot? Okay, then I better read them to you, which is a violation of my own rules. Okay, the cheese is your rewards in life, your rewards in work. Everybody like the cheese you're getting from your boss? How many lakhs per annum, right? Lots of cheese. Okay, well, what happens if the cheese goes away? The point is, change does happen. Your cheese will move. It's a fact of existence. None of you is training workforces in COBOL and working on IBM System 36, I hope. Tell me nobody in this room is working on an IBM System 36, right? You even know what an IBM System 36 is? I'm so ancient. Okay, those were computers that took up about all of this seating area and probably had less processing power than an Intel Pentium chip. That's what computers were 50 years ago. All right, so they keep moving the cheese. Be ready for change, okay? Change happens. So what do you need to do? You need to anticipate change, right? And next, you have to monitor change, okay? Number 1, change happens. It will move. Number 2, anticipate change. Get ready for the cheese to move, okay? Number 3, monitor change. He puts it this way. Smell the cheese so often that you can immediately detect if it's going bad. You know, it's funny. I guess this book was written for Westerners. France, a country with about 60 million people, has 360 cheeses. How come India, with 1 billion people, has only 1? When you pose for the camera, what do they tell you? Say cheese? I say, no, say paneer. Okay, so I don't know. So even if you all need 1 cheese, because it's hot here, they have cold caves. They could put the cheese in the caves and keep it for a long time, and all the different little bacteria would make it all sorts of different flavors. Here, it's so hot, if you didn't eat your paneer, it went bad. So we have only 1. But you should at least know what's going on. See if you can smell the change. And as Pallavi was saying, information tech managers saying we don't have time to be strategic. Something's wrong. Because if you're not strategic, you'll miss the change. And that's dangerous to your professional success. It's dangerous to your enjoyment. So you have to be aware. You have to monitor the change. Then, next, adapt. Adapt to change quickly. Right? The little words say, the quicker you let go of the old cheese, the sooner you can enjoy the new cheese. We all want to enjoy new cheese. Some of us do. All right, so that's the fourth one. Adapt to change quickly. Number 5, change with the cheese. Move with the cheese. Change. Now that's not easy. Change is not easy. Santosh Babu was talking to us about changing how we think, changing our inner mindset. That's really the origin of change. So that's good advice, right? So number 5 is change. Number 6, and this is the only one that takes an exclamation point. I find that quite interesting in Spencer Johnson's book. Enjoy change! That emphasis, exclamation point. Enjoy change! You're not enjoying me shouting at you, but you're supposed to enjoy change. That's not easy. We feel comfortable in what we've been doing. We feel comfortable in what we've prepared for all our careers. I get that. I get that. Change can be difficult. But he actually says, just relax. Don't take yourself so seriously. The world is changing, change with it, and learn to enjoy change. Be a learning person, being a change person, be an open person. And the last one, oh boy, aren't we done with this yet? He says no. The last one is be ready to change quickly and enjoy it again. I just did a change, I'm tired. I don't like it. No, he says be ready to do it again because they'll keep moving the cheese. We're back to the top of the list. Change will continue to happen. So that is Spencer Johnson's advice. That is part 2. I'm not going to drag it out and try to tell you a whole lot of other things. I'll stop now. Do you have any comments? Do you have any questions? I hate boring people. If I lecture on and on, I'm sure I'll put somebody to sleep. I don't want to do that. So you have anything to say? They'll bring you a mic. You can say it now. On the cheese. What's your favorite cheese? Just paneer? You like American cheese? You like those plastic cheese from Amul? You like those, plastic, we call it plastic cheese because you can't tell the difference between the plastic wrapper and the cheese inside. Or do you like a nice brie or a camembert or an Emmental? I had a lovely buffet in Delhi last night, lots of good cheese. Okay, no questions, no comments? Great, so I'll just move on so we don't drag it out. That was part 2. Who remembers part 1? If your IT department shrinks, make up for it by finding new value to add. Number 2, prepare for change and embrace the change. And what was number 3? Yes, if your scope of managerial control decreases, become a leader. This is the issue. Are you a manager or are you a leader? Well, Santosh was here to say he wasn't going to give you 7 key steps to being a leader. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It can't be put in a box. One of the things I do part-time is I teach in a business school. It's actually a business school aimed at IT professionals. So I'm an adjunct faculty there. So if you have anybody who's mid-career and is moving up to team leader or function leader in an IT organization, and that person wants good education, he can keep his job, she can keep her job and study in this program. I won't tell you the tuition fees. They're incredibly cheap. I told the operators of the school, I said, you need to raise those. They're too cheap. So I won't even tell you. But if you want to refer them to Sunstone Business School, I get no commission from this. This is not personal promotion. I just like what they're doing, and I like teaching there. One of the courses I teach is leadership. So even though Santosh told you earlier, I can't tell you ABC, I'm going to agree with that. I can't tell you ABC. But what I'm going to do now is show you a little bit of the difference. So you can evaluate whether you're more in a managerial mode or more in a leadership mode. Because leaders can have a huge impact where a manager can only have his scope of control raised or increased by somebody else. So I hope that'll be of interest to you. I won't ask because you might say no and then I'd have to shut up. Okay. All right, so there's difference number 1. And again, because it's small and because it's dark or whatever, I'll read it to you. What does a manager have? Subordinates. People who report to her. She has subordinates. What does a leader have? Followers. Okay? I like to say that leadership is not conferred. A title, director of operations or CIO is conferred by the boss or by the board or by whoever on you. You get that title, just as you kneel before the Queen of England and she puts a sword on your hand. She confers the title of Knight of the British Empire or whatever the heck it is. Or you get conferred Padma Shri, or whatever, okay? No, leadership doesn't come by somebody placing it on you. Leadership is not conferred, it is ascribed. And that means the people you are leading decide you are their leader. They attach the title of leader to you. It's not given, it's attached by the followers. So as you can see, who was Mohandas K. Gandhi? He was just some lawyer. He was just some lawyer who dressed up in a little dhoti and walked around. And when he did a big walk in the 1930s, he had lakhs and lakhs of followers just for walking to the seashore to get some salt out of the ocean. Okay? He had lakhs and lakhs of people who chose to follow him. He didn't order them, they didn't account to him, he didn't pay their salaries, they chose to follow him. So if you want to be a leader, check and see if you have only people who obey you and are subordinate to you, or if you have followers. And this extends to the rest of your organization. It says here, the IT-led enterprise. Is that what we call a pipe dream? You've been smoking ganja? You say, what do you mean, IT-led enterprise? Is it real? Come on, you're telling me that Tatas and Aditya Birla and Reliance are IT-led? What do you, come on. This is not a comedy show. We don't make up such silly ideas. So how is it really possible to have an IT-led organization? Well, if you become a leader, you may not be Mukesh Ambani, you may not be Cyrus Mistry, but you can still be a leader beyond your IT group if you can understand the difference between a manager and a leader. Are the people at the top level of your organization who don't work for you, are they willing to follow you, at least in issues of IT? Or do they say, no, you work for us. You just manage it. We'll tell you what to do. Very different. Very different. So if you want to compensate for the other lack of value, this is something you can take to heart. First point about a leader has followers. Okay? Second point. This is the chart I was talking about a minute earlier. Okay? What does a manager do? A manager does a job. My job is to make IT run in this place. My job is to deliver applications. My job is to keep IT secure and keep information secure. Okay, great, very good. We need people who can do a job. Please, don't stop doing your job. But there's a difference between a manager and a leader. Don't stop doing your job, but a leader goes higher and farther into the future. And that's why I was so sad by what Pallavi said in the last session. All the IT people are so busy doing, they don't have time for strategizing. And what is it that Santosh said? Or was it he or was it Pallavi that said, there's the balcony and the dance floor. He said, if you're all out on the dance floor, you're busy dancing and you have no idea where this is going. All right? So you need to have some time if you want to be a leader. If you want to be a manager, go be a great manager. I'll applaud you. You'll earn your cheese. Great. But then what happens when IT disappears and everything's outsourced and all of a sudden you say, oh, I don't have anything else. So if you want to get past that and you want to look for the way things are changing, you've got to make some time to develop, create, communicate, equip, and take feedback on a road to a vision. So looking at the chart again, this is day-to-day activities at the top and at the very, very base. See, notice the width. The activities are very narrow, but they're very at the top. The vision is the widest one, and it's at the bottom. So the question is, how are you spending your time? How are your people spending their time? Have you heard this expression? I love this expression. It's called the tyranny of the urgent over the important. Let's all stay there. In fact, let's stand up. I hope you're not too tired. Come on, stand up. Can't fall asleep. Come on. Move. Get the blood pumping. Come on, everyone stand up. 100%. Thank you. Now the next thing, I got to explain this. This is very, very complicated. We're going to say something out loud. Okay, do you know what that means? Are you sure? It means your mouth moves and sound comes out. Why are the people in the back sitting? They're supposed to stand with us. Okay, so can you do that? Can you have your mouth move and sound come out? Yeah. It's not too complicated for anybody. You're all well-educated people. Okay, so you're going to just repeat the same words that I say. The tyranny of the urgent over the important. Good. I mean, I actually heard some energy in some voices. Can we try it all together? I'm going to say the whole phrase, and then you repeat it. The tyranny of the urgent over the important. Thank you. Give yourselves a hand. That was good. Okay. The point is, the urgent cries out. The urgent says, "Get me done now!" Or if not, I'll whip you. Or I'll deprive you of your compensation, or I'll punish you in some way. And so too much of our time goes into the urgent activities of the day. This deadline, this project, this, semi-annual reviews, this manager's meeting, all the things, we get busy. We do. And we never take the time to look at what is really important. We do what is urgent, and somehow the important stuff just keeps getting delayed. Believe me, I face this as an innovation consultant. What's more important to an organization than innovation? But no, we're too busy for the innovation project now. We're going to do it next year. I'm going, okay, you're losing rupees every minute you delay, but no, you got to do the important, you got to do the urgent stuff. I get it. Most of us live our lives that way, So how successful can you be at flipping that? How successful can you be at actually devoting a little bit of time or a little bit more time to working on a vision, to thinking about strategies? That will help you to be a leader. You want your managerial scope of control is going down. Increase your power by becoming a leader. Number one was make sure you have followers. Number two is work on a vision. Get a vision and work to make it happen. Third thing that's the difference, and this helps you with the first two. This helps you with followers and it helps you with vision. And that is a manager directs people. You go do this. You come and do this. You go over there. You blah, blah, blah. That's how a manager operates. You have the carrot and the stick. You have the classic controls of a manager. And I think everybody in this room has them. And you're probably very good at using them. And some of your employers are going, that SO, he's so good at, all right, it doesn't matter. I hope you're not only like that. But instead of directing, because he doesn't always have power over the people he leads, sometimes he does, a manager influences. That's the difference. A leader influences. A manager directs, a leader influences. You have a narrower scope of control as an IT leader, but you have a whole organization where you can exercise influence, even if you can't exercise control. I hope you take the point. And I like this chart that's on the screen. What is it that enables you to have influence? You can see these boxes. This, interestingly enough, comes from a ZDNet article online. And I think that this presentation will be made available to you, so you can visit the site. Can anybody guess what the title of that ZDNet article is? Project Failures. Project Failures. Wow. Wouldn't it be good if there ever had, no, none of you has ever had a project fail, right? Ha, right. Okay. So wouldn't it be nice when there's a little bit of a failure or a little bit of, if you still had enough influence and that you had trust and people were still willing to follow you? And that comes from having credibility. People trust that you know what you're doing and know what you're talking about. Strong relationships. And come on, geeks are famous, IT geeks are famous for not knowing relationships, but you're better than that, I think. Here's this third one we just mentioned, trust. Do you have the trust of your peers in the boardroom, in the executive meeting? And then here's an interesting one you might not have thought about. Relevance. Relevance. If all you're talking about is bits and bytes and teraflops and system administration and security and the cloud, and everyone else's eyes are glazing over, what's he talking about? That's not relevant to them. But if you're talking about, what did Pallavi say? What did even Dinesh say? Customer orientation. All of a sudden, you become highly relevant to everybody else at the senior level of your organization. So what do you want to be? You want to be the guy who we can't understand him. He's got some kind of magic in servers and networks and software, and I guess everything gets done, so let him do his work. Or do you want to be the woman or the guy who's talking the same language as your peers in that executive council and says, yes, this is about customer responsiveness. This is about building market share. This is about saving money in operations by making things more efficient. So make sure that when you want to be a leader, you can be relevant, credible, you can be trustworthy, you trusted, and you have strong relationships. So yeah, a manager can only direct people. But a leader, if you want to be, you can be influential. You can develop that kind of base and become influential. The fourth difference, a manager controls. I can control what my people do if I'm a manager. But a leader inspires. You can always get people under your control to do what you want them to do. You've got the carrots, you've got the sticks. But how much can you inspire them to do more? How much can you inspire them to go beyond, above and beyond the call of duty? How much can you inspire them to give you their best ideas? That's the kind of question that a leader would be asking. What can I do to inspire in my team and in my organization, and who knows, even my vendors, if all this stuff is being outsourced? How can I inspire them? I like the quote, and I think the quote is big enough that everybody can read it. If you want to inspire people, what's the thing you want them to be able to say? I kept at it. I didn't give up because you inspired me. I did my best. I think I want to be that kind of leader. I want the people who work on my team to feel that way. David, we got your vision. We got your vision. We feel your influence. We want to follow you, and we see what you do, and it inspires us to do our best. I want to be that kind of leader. I hope you do as well. And the fifth point about leadership, well, this is the hardest thing for my MBA students to gather, and they're all working professionals, and most of them are in IT. So when I give them a case study, how many of you know the name Chavi Rajavat? Chavi Rajavat. Doesn't ring a bell? How about if I said the MBA Sarpanch? You've maybe heard of her? Okay, go research her. She's wonderful. I just spent some time with her a week ago. She left a wonderful career in Indian corporates, very mid-level manager, far advancing career, MBA, and she answered the call from her rural village in the district of Tonk, near Jaipur in Rajasthan. They said, we need you to come back and be Sarpanch of our village. How many of you would leave your career, living in a nice city, working in an air-conditioned office, enjoying all the perks of being a mid-career professional? How many of you would go and live in a village where none of the water was drinkable because of natural contaminants, natural pollutants? How many of you would go and live in the Rajasthani desert? She went back to her ancestral village and answered the call and is devoting 5 years of her life to helping these people. And her vision is holistic development. So I wrote a business case about her as a leader, young woman in her 20s, amazingly powerful leader. And when I gave this case study to my students, I said, okay, here's the situation. The reservoir is full of silt. There's no water. It stays for about 5 months, then it evaporates, and they have to wait until the next monsoon. There's no rainwater. Nobody has a job. The government, in its wisdom, took out the daily train service and built a highway. And now nobody could go from the village to take their handicrafts into Jaipur to sell them. So all the cottage industries died. They died. Okay, wonderful government, right? Thank you, government. Okay, so you know, what is it? There's NREGA, there's employment guarantee, but the people are so discouraged, well, even when it comes, they don't show up. Money is being allocated by the Center for Rural Development, but when it gets down to the district or the block level, they find a reason not to spend it. All these problems. And I say to them, what would you do if I made you sarpanch? What would be your way of handling the situation? And the typical good young managers that they are, they say, well, I would attack the water issue and education because there's no schoolroom for the kids. They have to sit outdoors. And I would do this. And I say, you've missed the point. You've missed the point. You see, a manager is one who drives tasks and processes. A manager makes an agenda. A manager decides the jobs that need to be done. I said, all of your ideas are great. We should fix the water problem. We should fix the school problem. We should fix the livelihoods problem. All those things, you're right. You're not wrong, but you're talking like a manager, not a leader. So what's the difference? A manager is one who drives processes and tasks. A leader focuses on winning hearts and minds. Winning hearts and minds. So I had one young lady in my last class that I taught on this, and she didn't write a single project that she would undertake as sarpanch. She only wrote, I would spend time with the people, talking with them and listening to them and finding out about their situation. I said, you got it! You got it! That's what a leader does. Leader will have a vision. The vision will be better water, it'll be better schools. But the method of the leader is to win the hearts and minds, and then the team will do anything. So I hope I've given you a fresh perspective that even if your scope of control over who reports to you, who are your subordinates, the size of your budget, even if those traditional measurements of managerial and advancement and success are declining in your world because of this moving cheese, you can still be an effective leader. Your organization still needs IT, whether it's in-house or outsourced. It still needs IT, whether it's corporate device or BYOD. It still needs IT, whether it's a server farm or whether it's somebody managing it for you in the cloud. It still needs those things. And IT can be a tremendous value addition, as we discussed last year, and as I think you know. But only if you can change from being just manager of your own domain to being a leader in your organization. Only if you can change with the times and not resist the change and say, who moved my cheese? But actually change. If the cheese is changing, you go out and find the new cheese, you sniff, you eat, you enjoy. And only, as we said in the beginning, even if with a smaller span of control like Germany, you find a way to be better, excellent, and win the battle a different way, rather than just the traditional measurements of expanding your control. So those were the three takeaways. We said them at the beginning. We don't need to repeat them now. And that's what I had to share with you. Floor is open for questions. I suppose I have about a minute left.
Yeah, so if there are any questions, please raise your hand. I will come to you with the microphone. I've got a question here.
Hi, David. Very nice session. This is Dhruv here from HCL. So I have a question which many times I've come across magazines or books. I would like an answer from you. So do you think or do you believe like leaders are born with those kind of things, or can average guy, just joining an organization, can he be trained to that level if he aspires to be one?
Okay, great question. Are we born leaders or can we be trained to be leaders? Yeah, the answer is both. The answer is both. If you've studied the Myers-Briggs personality system, and some of you have taken the Myers-Briggs type indicator, my type is ENTJ. My son's type is ESTJ, and those are the two natural leaders. In fact, if you ask what is it that an ENTJ can't do, he can't refrain from leading. You put an ENTJ in a situation like me, I'm compelled to organize people and material. That's just what I do. That doesn't mean I'm a good one, but at least I'm just compulsive about it. The other types, my wife's is the least leadership. In the year I left business school, they surveyed the incoming class, and 0 members of the incoming class were her type. That's the one that has no desire to lead anybody. But guess what? In some ways, my wife is a better leader than I am. So even if you don't have the natural drive to be a leader, you can still be a leader. Notice, leadership is not claimed, it's not conferred. It's also saying, I'm here, I'm the leader, I'm here to lead you. It's only when people want to follow you that you're a leader. And my wife is so good at the things she does that she becomes the de facto leader. People say, Pat, how do we do this? Pat, how do we go where we're going? Pat, how does this process get accomplished? Pat, what should we do? And she's called on as the leader. So anyone can lead. And when we study leadership, it's just like Santosh says. We don't say do X, Y, and Z and you'll be a leader. We say understand leadership. And as Pallavi said, be true to yourself. Be who you are. You gain leadership by demonstrating what people are looking for. Expertise, compassion, vision, okay, experience. If you have those things, people will naturally look to you as a leader. If you want to be active as a leader, there are a number of models that we introduce in the class. My favorite one was the one that was taught to me in business school by a professor who had come from Stanford to teach at our school. And she said, basically a leader has 4 jobs. Set the vision, tell people what the vision is, give them the tools to achieve the vision, and make sure along the way you monitor the progress and take feedback. So yeah, anybody can lead. It'll either happen organically or you can make up your mind to become a better leader by studying it. Any other questions? Time is up.
David, this is Nagesh here from NCR.
Okay. Very good.
This is not really a question, but I just wanted to share this anecdote about change. And I found this, I'll first tell you the quote. The quote goes, change cannot be created, you must bring it yourself. Now, if I tell you I found this quote at the back, displayed in a cigarette or pan bidi shop, as we call it.
Achha.
He was talking about the coins and the change that he wants. When I asked him why he put it there, he says, it's only for the change. But then I think we are talking about something like that here, but the quote was in a cigarette shop.
Thank you for sharing that, sir. I think somebody at one of these tables had a question.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that guy was talking about money change. Huh?
My name is Arun Kulkarni. I'm from. See, your presentation was very good, talking about innovation challenge. But apart from the leadership aspects and the requirements, many CIOs complain that their majority time and budget goes in keeping the lights on and leaving very less budget and time for innovation, even thinking about innovation. So I think there is some more problems also.
Okay. Well, it's more of a comment than a question. Can I guess what you're asking, or do you want to actually form a question for me to answer?
You can form a suitable question and answer.
Okay, I think the question is, what do I do when my bosses put so much pressure on me that I don't have time to be an effective leader? Is that about it? They're just putting pressure on me just to keep the lights on, keep the system running, keep the applications up. So, okay, normal situation, huh? Normal situation in most countries, especially in India, where we work so hard, we work so many hours per week. I'm just amazed at the hard work that we put in here in India. In my old country, they work 40 hours and they go home, and nobody works on Saturday and Sunday. I say, wow, that's a dream world. That's moksha, right? We work 6-7 days. Anyway, so yeah, we have this phrase, the tyranny of the urgent over the important. It's not easy to get past that. It's not easy to get out of that because nobody's imagined anybody doing it differently. Nobody's seen a company where they make time for thinking. Nobody's seen a company like 3M, where if you're in research, you get paid 80% time to do what your boss wants. You know what you're expected to do the other 20% time? What you want. You are forbidden from doing your boss's project for 1 day out of 5. Can you imagine that in India? You take this job, you may not do your boss's project. Huh? You must find your own project, we have to approve it, but you must work 1/5 time on your own project. It's not here. We don't have it in India. Someday we'll get it. I think it's a good system. So, what advice would I give you if you feel trapped? Right? Two things come to mind. Whatever you can delegate, delegate. Now, that's not being a leader, that's being a manager. But it's also being a leader, because one of the jobs of a leader is to develop talent. How are you going to develop talent if you never trust them to do anything? So if you have too many dishes on your table, if you have too many tasks to do, delegate. It'll empower your staff and it'll set you free. What did we say? That whole triangle, and also something that Pallavi said, is learn to prioritize. You keep the highest value tasks for yourself. If anything can be done by a lower level person, pass it off. Supervise it, coach the person, mentor the person, check the person, monitor the quality, but pass it off of your desk downward. That will clear up some time. That's the easier of the two. The harder of the two is find a way to be influential above yourself. This is called managing up. Can you manage the people who are putting pressure on you? It's not easy, but if you can do it effectively, you can win the budget you need, you can win the time you need. A year ago, one of my main points was you need to talk their language. You can talk about processing speed and power, you can talk about uptime, it means nothing to them. What they really care about is in one symbol. In America, it goes like this. Okay, in India, it's rupees. That's what you talk your boss's language. Boss, we're gonna make this IT a revenue generator. We're gonna make this IT a cost cutter. This is what I need from you. You'll get attention. So those are my two suggestions it's a very difficult situation. But push down as much as you can off of your own desk. You be a good prioritizer. It'll help you as a leader because your team will feel more responsible, they'll feel more trusted, and you'll be doing your proper job of developing them, and then learn to manage upward so that you can talk your boss's language. One more question?
Yeah, okay, I've got a question at the back.
Okay, please speak up.
Your talk was really, enlightening in all aspects.
Good.
It was really, encouraging for us to listen to you bit by bit. My question is that you mentioned about project failure.
Yes.
Is that the quote also? Every failure is a stepping stone for success?
In innovation, this is one of the hardest lessons for my Indian clients to understand, because we're a little bit ashamed of failure. We never admit our failures. I just read an article about what foreigners find unusual about US, and they find that honesty really unusual. People admit when they've done something wrong. They don't hide it, they don't cover it up, they admit it. I often joke, I say, what happens if you go bankrupt in US? What happens if you get a divorce in US? What happens if you lose an election in US? You get elected president. We have elected so many men to that presidency who have had business failures, marital failures. You get a second chance. In India, it's a little more difficult. Of course, in Japan, if you were responsible for a serious failure, you never got a second chance. The honorable thing for you to do was to take a knife and kill yourself. So at least we don't do that in India. But they would kill themselves in shame for a failure. So one of the lessons I bring to corporations is you must embrace failure. It's not that we seek it. We need to manage it, keep the consequences small, do it in a controlled environment, because failure is a necessary step, as you have rightly said, on the way to success. So yeah, and I love what the slide said, that if you have people's confidence and trust, and you have credibility with them, and also if you are relevant to them, they're willing to work with you through a failure. As long as you manage it, it's not life-threatening to the corporation, and I think you can do that. So leave a little bit of room for failure, or put it in a box so that you can keep it safe, and then take the consequences and do it better in the real application. All right, I think we're about out of time. I will be around in and out this evening, and I'd love to meet you and talk with you and answer further questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ibrahim, may I request you to do the honors of handing over the memento? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Wittenberg, CEO, the Innovation Work Group. Thank you very much, sir.